Michigan, my Michigan.
Well, this has been another crazy week. It's just, I'm just a broken record every weekend. Well, we just got through another crazy week. Except it's just crazier than the last week. So how many times can you double or triple or quadruple down on crazy to where now it's not even a word. It's not even a description of what we're going through. This whole thing with the Supreme Court, madness, absolutely madness. And him and the Republicans thinking they're going to get away with this. And yeah, they may get away with it. They'll win that battle, but they're going to lose the larger war. The nonviolent war, by the way, the one that we as citizens participate in every 4 years. Our voices will be heard. They will be loud. They will be strong. And they will realize that they have made a crucial mistake in how they ram through a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. And everything else this week. I mean, the scariest thing, obviously, was Trump just reiterating, but in stronger and more specific terms, how he has no intention of leaving the White House. That he does not believe in a peaceful transfer of power should he lose. Well, of course, because he's not going to lose. Because he's already got so many things in motion to rig the election. His favorite word, this is what's the brilliance of Trump is that he's always telling us what he's going to do. By saying that we're going to rig the election, he just has his pronouns mixed up. It could just be just a form of, dyslexia or something. He really means to say, I am going to rig the election. I am not going to leave the White House. And so, of course, we're all in a panic. And, but, I don't know. I'm not so sure we need to be right now at this moment because he may have overplayed his hand here. And I'll talk a little bit about this maybe at the end of the episode today. And I'll certainly talk to you about it in the next couple of days. But I want to get to, we have a special guest with us on Rumble today. It's not James Comey. It's actually something better. It's the actor who's playing James Comey this weekend on Showtime. There's a Showtime movie that starts Sunday night. It's a two-parter, continues on Monday night. It's called The Comey Rule, and it dives right into the whole kit and caboodle of what happened in 2016 with the investigation into Hillary's emails. She was exonerated, and then a few weeks before the election, Comey thought he maybe should check out a few more things, and the Republicans in Congress leaked that to the press, and there you go. The rest is history, as they say. But it's now not just history. It's an incredible new movie on Showtime starring Jeff Daniels, Brendan Gleeson, Holly Hunter, Michael Kelly from House of Cards, Jonathan Banks from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I mean, the cast is so killer. And I'm just very happy to have my friend and fellow Michigander on with us here today. He has been the star of so many of your favorite movies, from Dumb and Dumber, The Purple Rose of Cairo, to Radio Days, Terms of Endearment, Something Wild, Breaking Away, Ragtime. I mean, there's on and on. There's 3 great Civil War movies, Gettysburg. You just go down this list here, and but The Squid and the Whale, of course, this is my personal favorite of his. He was in Fly Away Home. Maybe most importantly for me, he played Atticus Finch on Broadway, 2018, 2019. It was one of the most amazing performances in one of the most amazing productions I've ever seen on Broadway. So fit for the times in which we now live. Jeff Daniels is a fellow Michigander, grew up in Chelsea, Michigan, which is about 15 miles outside of Ann Arbor, which is about 60 miles south of Flint. And of course, I live up in northern Michigan now. He's living in southern Michigan. He's also he created a live theater company in Chelsea, Michigan called the Purple Rose Theater. And everybody in Michigan knows this, the incredible place. New playwrights get a chance to try out their work there. And all of us have been there who love live theater in the state of Michigan. He is considered our national treasure. And I'm very happy to have him here on the show today on the weekend of the opening of his latest film on Showtime called The Comey Rule. Please welcome the man who plays James Comey, Jeff Daniels. Jeff, welcome to Rumble.
Glad to be here, Michael.
So I mentioned in the introduction that you are the star of the Showtime two-part movie this weekend. Starts on Sunday and continues on Monday, called The Comey Rule. And you are playing someone by the name of James Comey. Explain to us exactly who this is.
Well, for those who are unfamiliar, he was the FBI director that Obama. He was appointed by Obama, or Obama, said, "Okay, you're my guy."
Right.
And then Trump was elected, and then he went up to see Trump, and Trump basically wanted him to do things that no FBI director has been asked to do ever that I know of. And
right.
Jim wouldn't cross that line.
Let's back it up. During the election in 2016, Hillary versus Trump, at some point early on in the election season, James Comey, as the FBI director, announced the findings of the FBI that the big brouhaha over Hillary's emails and why she put a server in the basement of her home in Chappaqua, New York. And they wanted to know where those emails were, because there was all this stuff about Benghazi and everything else. And Comey said that basically, things probably could have been done differently or whatever, but she's committed no crimes. She's not even anywhere near committing any crimes, and essentially exonerated her. Then, and I don't know the exact date, you probably know this, a month before the election in 2016, roughly.
Early October, yeah.
Yeah, early October, James Comey has an announcement to make, and the announcement is that due to new things that we've discovered or whatever, we're going to just take another second look at this.
Jason Chavez was the one who announced it.
Oh, okay. So
Comey just sent the letter as required to the Gang of Eight, knowing that someone on the Republican side would leak it, and that's what happened.
Okay, so Jason Chavez, the Republican congressman from Utah, he decided to make some hay out of this. And Hillary has written in her book, and people have said they think that this is one of the big reasons why she lost. And I've never taken that position, because I've always felt, first of all, she didn't lose. She won. She got the most votes. The American people came out and made a decision, and very clearly, by 3 million votes, said we want her. Okay, we know we have the Electoral College. That's not what happened. But in her book, she puts a lot of blame on Comey and the Russians and the whatever. And I, Jeff, have taken the position since that time, because you and I, both Michiganders living in Michigan, she did not come and campaign in Michigan. She made, I think, one visit, no visits to Wisconsin. We lost both states, and that gave us Trump. To me, that I've always felt that if you want to look for some sort of, I don't want to say blame, but certainly when I make a bad decision or screw up, I think it's best just to say, you know what, I probably should have campaigned in Michigan and Wisconsin. And but Hillary and others are just Comey, and Russia. So Comey writes a book, and then Showtime decides to make a movie on it, and you decide to play James Comey. In this movie that we're going to watch this weekend, what part of Comey's story are we going to watch in terms of his role and non-role, and what maybe, I don't want you to give away. We know the ending.
The Titanic hits the iceberg. We know the ending.
Yes, it does. Yeah, you're not going to watch the Showtime movie and at the end go, "Oh my God, Trump didn't win." No, that's not going to happen. But I have a sense that and there's a little more to the story that we really don't know, and what Comey did or didn't do has been simplified into something that, as smart people, maybe we want to take a second look at, especially as we lead up here in the last 5 weeks to this election. So
we know a lot more now than we did then. Let's start there. I was one of those guys that when the investigation was reopened in October we found 33,000 emails. It was, what the hell is he thinking?
Yeah. Right.
But that was even mild because the day that it leaked out that they had to reopen it, and you'll see this in the movie, Billy Bush's bus ride had happened the day before or 2 days before. That had come out. That was it. And Giuliani and WikiLeaks were going to counteract that in narrative in the next news cycle by going, we're going to release the 33,000. Roger Stone was on the phone. Everybody was getting ready to do it, and Comey and his people heard about that. So they knew it was going to come out through Giuliani and WikiLeaks. I didn't know that, you know? Right. And so Jim was, what I found playing him, and in that instance and in others, he was constantly put between a rock and a hard place. If I do this, if we do this, these things will happen. If I do that, those things will happen. One of them's really bad and the other one's catastrophic. But you have to choose. Right. There were no good choices. That's what I learned. And he kept going back to, and he got ripped on it. He got ripped for being self-righteous and a Boy Scout. I was a Boy Scout, you know? Right. Oh my God! I wish I did it this morning. Honest, true, trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, Kearney County. All those things.
Brave, clean, and reverent. Were you an Eagle Scout?
Didn't make it. No, I didn't make it. No, I didn't. I didn't make it. But that Jim believes in that stuff,
right?
And that makes him a Boy Scout. He also believes, and this is where he found himself alone in that October before the election. He believes in the rule of law, justice, right, truth, facts, the sacredness of the institutions that run this country. He believes in doing whatever he can to maintain the integrity of the FBI for those who came before him and those who came after. Those are all things that are bigger than he is. It's his God. It's his religion. It's bigger than he is. And that his morality might be bigger than your morality. His truth is bigger than your truth, but it's not his own personal. It's him going, the rule of law guides me through all of this, because he was getting hit from the left and he was getting hit from the right. Even inside the FBI, they would go, yes, sir, but if we do this, Donald Trump might be elected. And he has to swallow and go, what is the rule of law? What is the right thing to do if I'm going to be, and here's the word that I learned that I don't think none of us, or a lot of America didn't have any idea of, apolitical. Mm-hmm. Jim Comey was one of the first apolitical public servants who came forward into the media with his chin out. Mm-hmm. And he did that, but he just sent the letter to the Gang of Eight. Chavez leaked it. Giuliani's jumping on Fox News saying, boy, have we got something, you'll see, 30,000 emails. And here's the other thing, because I think you're right. I don't think it's as simple as Jim Comey lost the election for Hillary. I agree with you on Hillary, that she didn't come to Michigan. Right. There were 87,000 votes in Michigan.
Right.
The Democratic down the ballot and the presidential ballot was left blank. They didn't like her.
Yeah.
She didn't come into 87,000 of those. She lost the state by 11,000 votes.
Just so people who are listening understand what Jeff just said, 80,000 people actually went to vote. These aren't people who stayed home. Stood in line for 2 hours, 3 hours. It was cold. It was November. Stood there to vote, and they voted for everything from Congress to state Senate down to Register of Deeds. And they left the top box blank on the ballot. 87,000 voters on purpose didn't vote. And the majority, as they found out later, were people, when they voted down ballot, they voted for the Democrat. So,
and Trump was in the state going, I'm not even going to bring your jobs back, manufacturing back. That specific job that you lost, I'm bringing that one back. And you know, okay, I got it. I'll believe you. Somebody's telling me something that's good for me and my family in Macomb County and elsewhere. You got a lot of people struggling here.
That's right. Trump was there every week.
So Jim did that.
Yeah.
With the idea that it was going to go, and here's where now it starts to catch fire. Here's where the mainstream media comes in. Because when it comes out that they have reopened the investigation into Hillary's emails, as you well know, that's eyeballs, that's ratings, that's a great story. And so bang, there it is. Right. Just like when on Meet the Press, Trump is calling in the first 10 minutes of the show. Right. He's not there. He's not sitting across from Chuck or anybody else.
They don't require him to be there. Right.
Suddenly it's call the press because it'll be ratings. And I don't blame Chuck Todd for that. I mean, a lot of people are dumb on him. I don't blame. There's a news director there, and maybe it's Chuck. I don't know. But those decisions are made with an eye on the ratings. Okay, well, you guys did that. Suddenly we're going to reopen the investigation. That's red meat. That's a red meat story for the news, for the mainstream news. And you know what's a better story, Michael? She's guilty. They found something. Mm-hmm. So 3 days before the election, and here come the results of that reopening, and she's not guilty. There's nothing there.
Right.
Some of the emails were redundant. They'd already seen them before. There's no story here.
Right.
They cover it, but it's a little bit like a televised retraction on page 4 of a newspaper. It's not the big story. Meanwhile, here's the other shared responsibility. The American electorate. This is October 2016. It isn't yesterday. It isn't last week. We aren't as aware as we are now. We're looking at a businessman who's got a little bit of a potty mouth and Hillary, they investigated her. They say they didn't find anything, but, she's probably guilty anyway. He's a businessman. Governor Snyder in the state of Michigan was a businessman. He got in there. I mean, maybe a businessman can help run this state better. Maybe he can run this country better. And you know what, Michael? My taxes will get cut. And here's the thing that's going to make it okay in October 2016.
Right.
10 people are going to be around Trump to keep him from doing something stupid or dangerous. Right. Pros, Reince Priebus, people who know how to do this. So he'll just help us, pay less in taxes, and 4 years later, and we'll be in a better spot. Well, 4 years later, those 10 people are gone. He's got 100 people, other people that he's appointing, including a Supreme Court justice tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so the American electorate went to sleep. They need to put down their phones, stop, chasing social media, and get informed. You need to know more than you did 4 years ago. I played, as you know, Atticus Finch on Mockingbird, and I keep saying what Aaron Sorkin did differently in the play than he did in the book, than they did in the book or the movie, was they got Atticus Finch off the porch.
Yeah. Atticus
Finch is America right now.
Yeah.
The way we portrayed him. He sat on his porch. He was just handling land disputes and service agreements, foreclosures, and he was trying to raise 2 kids with Calpurnia. That was his life. Bob Ewell would walk by and go, "We got a lynching tomorrow night behind the grocery store. You coming?" "No, I'm not coming, Bob. I'm going to stay here on my porch. I'm not going to get involved." And Aaron Sorkin got Atticus off the porch, got him involved. America has to get off the porch. I mean, this is the equivalent of a modern day D-Day on November 3rd. We already got 200,000 dead, so don't tell me I'm exaggerating. This is a big damn deal. Unless you want
a lot more than died on D-Day.
A royal family, in 2024 and 2028 with Princess Trump as she's appointed, Ivanka. I mean, that's where we're headed. There's the only way these guys can stay in power is to completely just take over and steal the election and steal the government. And that way, this particular version of the Republican Party will live on forever, whether anybody likes it or not. That's what's at stake.
Wow. So you're taking this very, very seriously.
I think America needs to wake up and start getting involved and start go to the polls. Vote this way. Do you want to vote for decency or indecency? Civility or no civility? Do you want to vote for truth or lies?
Right.
Honesty, dishonesty. It's really not that difficult. And as you know, out here in the Midwest, we have pretty good bullshit detectors.
Right.
And when somebody's spinning us and marketing us and conning us, we're usually pretty good about that. Con me once, shame on me. Con me twice, I'm voting for Biden.
Right. And I think also, and I've told people this, that those of us from the Midwest, especially those who grew up in the working class, all of us have someone in at least our extended family who has at some point in the past, in my case, my uncle in World War II, has given their life for this country. Yeah. And I've heard from enough people in Michigan in the last couple of weeks to call these people who gave their lives, our veterans, these soldiers, suckers and losers. I don't know if the pollsters or the media has quite figured out just how much perhaps Trump has damaged himself, not with his base. That 63 million that came out and voted for him, most of them, I think, will probably come out again. But in this case, instead of winning by 3 million, I mean, Biden has the chance, I think, to win by 5 million or more in the popular vote. Maybe just enough.
What it's going to take.
It's going to take that, though. It's anybody who wants to still sit on the porch, as you put it, is doing grave damage to this country. It's the kind of thing like I'll go on a show and they'll introduce me as a filmmaker and activist, and I'll always say, no, don't say activist. I'm a citizen of this democracy. That implies I'm an activist. We're all activists. If we all aren't active, the democracy dies. So that's a redundant word to use, and I think that all of us, frankly, Jeff, I honestly think, and you know me, I'm not a huge optimist here, but I think the majority of the people are no longer sitting on the porch right now. I think they are aware. They're making themselves aware. The early voting just started in Michigan yesterday, where all you have to do we have a great new voting law that we put into our Constitution in the 2018 election. All you have to do is literally just go show up tomorrow, Monday, whatever, at the city clerk's office or township clerk or wherever you live. Just show up and say you want to vote now. They will hand you the mail-in ballot. You can fill it out right there. There's most places will have a little cubby hole or something. You'll just mark it up, mark the ballot, and hand it in person right there to them. They have all the social distancing and safety measures in place. But if you don't want to do that, then get it sent to you in the mail. But there's a lot of voting taking place right now. I saw on the news tonight that there's at least 250,000 in the last few days have voted in North Carolina. 250,000 have voted in Virginia. And so I don't know. Do you think am I too optimistic here that maybe?
You're the opposite of what you were 4 years ago. You stood in my dressing room at a Broadway show in June before November, and you said Trump's going to win.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to tell you that.
But you did, and you were right. And you may be right here. I'm just not going to take that chance.
No, you can't take the chance. Nobody. The takeaway from this is not to say, "Oh, good. Hey, we got this in the bag." Back to more NBA without the fans in the stands.
You got to go to the grocery store next week. Add an extra 15 minutes to vote. Here's the other thing too. I was on The View this morning, and I'm telling you, one of the most important events to happen in the last 4 years was the Women's March the day after Trump was inaugurated.
Right.
The outrage, and with Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing away and him rushing to get someone in there, woman or not, and have her just wink and go, and not that, she's going to be under pressure to deliver for him like, the Bush Gore thing.
Right.
I mean, there are favors to be paid. There are, paybacks. And that's what's going on. I think there's enough for people to be outraged. Women, people of color, transgender, gay, you name it. We've got all the outrage we need. Take that outrage and get out the vote. Not just your vote, but get other people, the old people that can't get to there, and they, just knock on their doors and go, can I help you in any, people that you know, particularly get the people that you know going, I'll take your ballot down to the precinct, down to the clerk's office. Let me do that for you. Make sure they put it in the right envelope and all that stuff, and help here. What sacrifice do you people have to make? Do we have to make in today's America? You want to really knock people's socks off? Bring back the draft.
Right.
Send their kids overseas, then see if they start paying attention.
Right.
Well, we're not going to do that. Maybe but something. This is your opportunity. That and yes, paying taxes. Those are the two things, voting and paying taxes, where you have to either sacrifice by standing in line, or you have to support this country that you keep saying is the greatest country in the world, which it isn't, by the way.
Right. Well, don't make me ask you to give your newsroom opening
No,
speech.
I won't.
But I'm seriously though
going back to that, Michael, because
I know, and because it was so right on. And I'm going to put if you don't know what we're talking about, the very first episode of Newsroom, HBO series, Jeff won the Emmy for Best Actor. There is an incredible opening. I don't know how long, 10 minutes. A monologue, a soliloquy, you're in the show, you're giving a speech at a college, and you obviously go off script and just say how you really feel. It's so powerful. I'm going to put a link on the podcast site here. Please, people, when you get a chance, click on it and listen to this. But go ahead, Jeff, and explain how crazy we are.
Pay attention to the second half of the speech. It's not the greatest country in the world. It's the first half. The second half is, but it can be. And that's Sorkin's idealism, and that's his hope, and that's his optimism. All of these people who are outraged, for all of the reasons that we've been outraged, since George Floyd, since the women, since Russians who are paying to kill American soldiers, and he hasn't said a word, veterans, generals, everyone has reasons to be outraged. This is November 3rd is an opportunity for that new America that everyone's screaming about, that everyone wants. The door to opening to the new America is Biden and Harris. You can see the next 20 years. You're not going to get everything you want by November 4th or even a year from now. But you're going to start. And I'll tell you how it's going to end. If you don't vote, if Trump wins, or if he cheats and he still hangs on to be president, it's over. You may as well start learning Russian.
Yeah, the Russian part, I'm awful at foreign languages, but I will agree with this entirely that we are completely cooked.
It's an opportunity. It is really, and I agree with you, Michael. You feel the outrage out there. You feel it here in Michigan.
Yeah.
And you and I've talked. I still think, I don't know if you agree, I still think there are that 20% in the middle. I grew up in a Republican household, and he ran a business, went to church.
Your dad.
All that stuff that Stuart Stevens writes about, and it's all a lie. My dad believed it. Family values, treating people with respect. I remember when I walked in my house at 8, I was 8 years old, and we're living in a little white town in Michigan,
Yeah.
And we don't know. And I walk in, and there's my dad sitting with a guy named Herbie Pearson, African-American, probably the first one I'd ever seen in my little white existence. And my dad looked me in the eye and he said, Jeffrey, I'd like you to meet a friend of mine, Herbie Pearson. Message delivered. My dad took Herbie Pearson around town, introduced him to all his white friends, as in, I don't want to hear it. And my dad ran for mayor, was a mayor, school board president. He led this town. And it was very clear to the people in this town and to me that we're equal. We should be equal. There should be a treatment of people with respect. And that's what we've lost. You want to put something on the ballot, put decency, honesty, and respect on the ballot. We need to get back to that. I would think that the president of the United States would have at least one redeeming quality. One.
Yeah.
And please don't tell me why you're voting for someone who doesn't have any.
Yeah. And again, that's not hyperbole either, because I remember.
If this were a movie, if Trump were a movie, if Trump's America were a movie, they would go, you know what, your villain is too obvious. It's too transparent.
Right.
Obviously, Russia has him by the balls. He's doing everything he's doing just to stay out of jail. That's what he's doing. He doesn't care about this or that or you or anybody else. He just wants to be reelected so the Southern District of New York doesn't put him in jail for tax evasion, tax fraud, money laundering, racketeering. Pick your poison. That's what's going on. Wise up.
You know, a lot of people believe that if he steals the election, if he wins it, which can happen, by the way, I don't think it can happen. It already happened once.
Oh, sure.
So don't think that
These guys are desperate. These guys are desperate. They're ruthless.
And they're ruthless, and he's an evil genius. And I've never wanted to just lay back on the line that, oh, he's just an idiot or he's stupid or whatever. Well, not so stupid, is he? He seems a little smarter than us because he figured out how to win the White House by losing the election. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. This guy, I don't know. I've always taken him seriously, and when he says what he says, he means what he says. He's not just doing a focus group, putting something out there. He's actually, so when he says that the woman that he's going to nominate here to the Supreme Court, that when he said the other day, well, we'll need her because it'll be better 6-3 vote. We'll need her when the election comes there. Well, he's telling her right then she's got to vote.
Comey went through it. Comey sat across the table from him, and Trump said, "I need loyalty." Whoever this justice nominee is going to hear that same line.
He's warned her publicly.
Yeah,
you will be loyal to me.
Yeah, and yeah. I mean, Comey told me when the loyalty dinner, to your point that he's not just an idiot. Comey said, when you're 3 feet away from him, alone in a room, you see a private menace, a private darkness in him that you don't see when he's on television and pitching and selling whatever he's selling. Brendan Gleeson played Trump in Comey Rule, and I mean, you could see it, that Brendan had it. There was something going on behind the eyes. And Jim was sitting there that day, and he just said, that's what I felt, and that's what I saw, a private menace. Right. He's desperate. He's a desperate man.
No, he's always been that way.
He's cornered, and he's running out of lies.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but I did sit 3 feet from him at lunch, just he and I, and it was at Tavern on the Green. This is after I came to New York, and I was basically trying to talk him into coming on. I wanted to be on my show, my TV show, and the first time I had met him, literally, I'm telling, this is like 1990. It was at a Planned Parenthood benefit, and I would see him over those first years in New York. He would be at various Democratic Party functions. He would say he voted Democratic. This is how he portrayed himself, but sitting 3 feet from him there was one of the creepiest experiences, because it just, if you have any kind of, as you said, bullshit detector, especially a Midwestern bullshit detector, that this is something really not right at all.
It's just a vibe. Yeah. Comey felt it. You felt it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, so can I just talk to you about To Kill a Mockingbird, because I went to see this 3 times.
Yes, you did. It was so great to see you each time.
Well, it was. I just was so blown away by this production, written by Aaron Sorkin, starring you as Atticus Finch, and another fellow Michigander, Detroiter, who played Scout. The actress
Celia Keenan Bolger.
Yes, yeah? Yes. It was so powerful, Jeff. It was so nothing I just hadn't seen anything like this, and never. Like, how do you even have the balls to just reimagine and then restage To Kill a Mockingbird? It's already been done. Gregory Peck did it, and then
he did it. And won an Oscar for it.
No, he did. And no offense to him, but seriously, the first time I saw it, I thought, oh my God, this is like something that is so fresh, so original. Nobody, it just is such, it's so sad, because I say this and people are listening to it. Oh, when can I see it? Well, you're not going to see it, because it was a play. Jeff was Atticus Finch for a year plus.
And a year. Yeah,
a year. Okay, a year. Did your contract. You were done at the end of the
415 times I was there. I was there. You could have come. I was there.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So they aren't there, and now there's no way for them to even. You guys didn't make a film of this. You didn't film. You didn't. We're not going to see it on Great Performances on PBS.
No.
No. Oh my God. Well, my friends, all I can say is that Jeff, you really knocked it out of the park. And the 3 times I saw it, and I saw it over that year, like at the beginning, then 6 months later, then at the end.
You saw the growth in it too. I mean,
Yes,
we were,
yeah.
you know, and sometimes after, you know, into the end of a year-long run, you phone it in, you just can't, you're out of gas, you're limping to the finish line. And we pushed. The last 2 months, we were a Ferrari. We were surgical precision at 100 miles an hour. That's when we were at our best. And it took 10 months to get to that. I'll never experience that again.
Wow. Yes, I know. But the third time I saw it, it was so powerful. The tears in the audience, and then the utter silence because people are choking. They can't say or do. It's almost like you stop. You hear people stop breathing almost. And what Sorkin did in writing this, and it's not modernized. It's still set back in the 1930s, the story and everything.
Yeah.
And it's just the right touch to where he does what maybe they couldn't do back in 1960 or 61, 62. But what we can do now in terms of how he just put his touch on the story and how the Black characters came alive and were not just props. Maybe that's too strong of a word from the early 60s, but essentially, you know what I'm saying here is that there was an obvious effort here to, and you just, as the people, as people would leave the theater each time, how much, and they're watching this during the time of Trump, and how it's like a knife in the heart almost. And of course, I don't want to go to something that's going to give me a knife in the heart, but yes, we actually do. We do want to be moved. And that's what this did. And I thank you for that, because it was something that will never leave me. It had a huge impact on me. And it was just, I don't know. I mean, I've heard you say that of your career, this was certainly the pinnacle. But of course, this is a career that you've worked with so many great directors. My favorite of yours, and you probably won't say what your favorite is. It's not really the right thing to say, but The Squid and the Whale. People, if you have not seen this film, an early film by Noah Baumbach, it is such an incredible movie about a family. And Jeff, you were just genius in this film, and very powerful. At the time when you were making this, because it started out was just a small indie film by essentially an unknown director. I mean, was that?
Oh my God, yeah.
Essentially, it was completely unknown.
They had just over $1 million, which is like $100 in movie money. And we shot it in 6 weeks in Brooklyn, and we got to the last day of shooting and shook hands with no distribution. Pretty much nobody's going to see this, and well, we did something good, we hope. And then that was August, and then we got into the Toronto Film Festival and the New York Film Festival, and then Sundance, and then off it went. We had the Sundance dream that you probably had, that where you screen and the producer's at the back of the room, and he rents out the real estate office on the main street in Park City, and they started having meetings from midnight. And then at 12:30, they meet Paramount, and at 1 o'clock, they meet 20th Century Fox, and then at 3 o'clock, they meet Sony, and then, all the way down, and then they eventually sell it by dawn. That was Squid and the Whale. Yeah.
Oh, it's a great film. People have a chance to see it. Dumb and Dumber, we've all seen, and this is the variety of your career that you've made. You've been the star of 3 Civil War epics. Plus, obviously Something Wild and the Woody Allen films and the other stuff. But boy, Dumb and Dumber, it's still, it will always hold up. And especially during the pandemic, I believe this movie check your residuals maybe in another quarter here, because I just got to
I
believe
think they've run out, but yeah, okay, I will.
yeah, but it's just, this is the kind of movie you want to watch right now, because we need that so badly. And then so I heard you say the other day that because Jim Carrey, he was a guest one night on my at my Broadway show back in 2017, and he said he was starting to write this book. And so he's got this incredible best-selling book out, but the audiobook of it right now, it's not Jim's voice. You would think the comedian, the performer, the comedian would do his own book, and it's like, whoa. What's going on there?
Dumb and Dumber 3. Yeah.
No, but because the book is so intense and so wackadoodle and so
it's an acid trip. It's
an acid trip is right.
It's Hunter S. Thompson meets Alice in Wonderland. That's what it is. Except you're in Jim Carrey's mind. I would sit next to it in Dumb and Dumber and Dumb and Dumber 2, and you wanted him to go. You wanted him to start spinning the wheels. Go. Take 10, take 11, take 12, go. I screwed that up. No, don't worry about it. Go. You want him to become that comic tornado where he hits the zone and he hits the slot and he goes, and you ride along as Harry Dunn did, and that it was thrilling. And the book is he's given you the key into his imagination. And he and Dana Vachon spent 8 years on this thing. And it's a great read. It's unlike anything else. It really is. It's pretty special.
It's his words, but your voice. That takes it to this other level. That's so. I
asked him. I said, Jim, what do you want? He goes, I don't want to read it. I'd screw it up. I don't know how to do it. I'm too much of a perfectionist. Okay, I'm in. So we did it.
But 15 years ago, Bob Dylan wrote the first part of his autobiography called Chronicles Volume 1, which is an incredible book. And the audiobook is read by Sean Penn. So it's Dylan's voice, Dylan's words, and yet it's Sean Penn. But I'm telling you, I'm so glad Sean Penn did it. I had the same feeling here when I heard that this week. So I'm really dying to listen to this version. The last thing here, are the movies going to come back? What's going to happen here? Because those of us who work in this business, and in our case with the film festival and these theaters, nonprofit art house theaters, etc., it's pretty hard to social distance when you're acting, and and it's hard to do it in the movie theater that doesn't have windows, that you can't get fresh air in there. It's a confined space. What is going to happen here? What's your read on it? I'm not asking you as a scientist or your former job as the deputy head of the CDC. I'm just asking you, as a person who cares deeply about film, as our sort of it's our no offense to the French, but it's our national art form. We're a young country, so our contributions to art have been jazz and the movies. And what's going to happen, Jeff?
Well, the making of movies, I think, will come back. We got on the other side of the tragedy that was 9/11. We got on the other side of the World War II. We got on the other side of the bubonic plague in 1918. We will come back. People need entertainment. They need the diversion. They need the enlightenment when we do that. So I think that will still be, and what proves it is streaming. Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Showtime, Amazon, all that's Apple TV.
Sure. At home, yes.
That's a separate thing. That's different now because most people don't need the big screen when they can sit on their couch in front of a 35 to a 65-inch television set with great sound and no half-hour of coming attractions that are really commercials, and nobody with a cell phone next to you, behind you, over there. Right. Those are problems, and it's been this kind of. We will always have a place to do it. Whether you can go to a movie theater, a Cineplex, and sit there with the big screen, I don't know. We're getting real used to seeing things at home. Even. Oh my God, how can we possibly watch a movie on our phone or laptop or iPad? Well, we are. and that doesn't bode well for the buildings, the bricks and mortar, the theaters themselves. I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah.
What I do know is a lot of people are very comfortable not leaving their homes, getting what they need that they could have gotten elsewhere. And that includes the theater too.
Yeah.
You know, the straight theater, regular theater. I don't know, but I as an actor, I've loved the streaming end because, like with a limited series, it's a 4-hour movie. You're not going to take a 4-hour. We did with Gettysburg, and we got killed for it. You're not going to take a 4-hour movie into the Cineplex,
right?
Or Godless was 7 hours. Looming Tower was 10 hours. Newsroom was 9 hours. That's a 9-hour novel I'm shooting. There's so much more to play, so much more to do. And people can binge watch, and that became a thing. And now it becomes this, and all the writers went to streaming. They weren't as respected as they were when the studios went to big, huge, comic book movies and franchise movies and tentpoles. Jane Fonda told me, the movies I made in the 70s, they aren't making anymore.
Right.
But what they're doing is they're turning them into 6-hour limited series on Apple TV.
Right.
And you can get them there. And you know what? We don't have to cater to as broad an audience there. We can hit a niche. That's why a Western like Godless got made. Nobody wanted to make it as a movie. 2 hours, 2-hour movie. He carried that thing around for 15 years. And then he finally took it to Netflix, and they said, "Can you make it 7 hours?" And, there is the future. At least for an actor, there is the future. For a theater owner, not so good.
I still think that people are going to want to get out of the house once they feel safe. And
I do too.
And sit with strangers in the dark.
And that's one of the things that made Mockingbird so powerful. 1,400 people sitting there not moving, getting punched in the face by Atticus Finch, treated like white jurists who were about to, along with the jurists on stage, send this guy to his death. I turned to them and threw a right hook at them.
Right.
That's a different experience than sitting on your couch. And that was why there was so much silence, because they felt it. There was a door closed behind them at the back of the theater. And here's Atticus Finch just reaming them out. Throwing a right hook to white America.
That's right. Yes, and that could only happen in person like that.
Yeah. Tonight, just for you. I'm here doing it just for you. That's still special.
I'm Les. I'm an actual human on the stage. And I'm looking right at you, row 4, seat 5.
Yeah. To see Springsteen at the Walter Kerr. I mean, yes, at Giant Stadium. Yes, at Joe Louis Arena. But to see him in a 1,500 seat theater on Broadway, it's like he's playing your living room just for you. He's there just for you that night on a Thursday night in a year-long run just for you, and you wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world. Shut the door. Start the show.
We're 6.5 months into this pandemic. Today is actually day number 200 of me in lockdown here in my apartment. And I'm okay. How are you doing? You are, I assume, have been not out and about very much.
No.
You're there. Are you there? You're in your house there in Michigan.
In Michigan, yeah, and it's we're healthy. I've taken it seriously. I'm 65. I'm high risk. I got some medical things that make me high risk. So I don't fool around. Masks and so I'm thankful we're healthy. That said, it's a little bit like forced retirement for someone at my age, everything except the gold watch. I mean, I'm doing only the things that I want to do. That's it. I've eliminated the people, the things, even the parts of the business, like traveling around the country to promote the Comey Rule. It's exhausting, as you know. I've been sitting here in my house doing Zoom meetings and podcasts. It's like gold.
You were on practically.
That never changes.
I mean, it was great. Well, you didn't need to fly to New York for that.
No, it'd be interesting for me to see the things that will remain after the pandemic ends and the vaccine comes and we all get on the other side of this. I don't know when that will be. It could be a year, 2 years. I don't know. I'm not a health expert, but that's one of the things that the Zoom, we get used to it. We get used to watching the news shows and seeing people Zooming from their living rooms. We're okay with it, just like we're okay watching a movie on iPad.
Right.
You know, we got
Right.
okay with it. The other thing I really like is live streaming. I play gigs, and I loved going around the country to play 200-seat clubs. You know, I thought
Yeah.
that's where I'd be. I thought, you know, leading up to Newsroom, I thought the career was kind of ending. And I was happy to walk away from it. I didn't want to do roles I didn't want to do, and I was going to pick up my guitar. I've been playing for 30 years and do that. And then Newsroom happened, which bought me 10 years. But to sit in my home recording studio with my two boys and live stream gigs through these venues, it gets the venues some money, and we go, it's like I'm playing your living room. And I love it. I just love it. I hope that sticks around. Go to the live venue, see the artist that's playing live that night, but I can't get a babysitter. What does this venue have live streaming tonight? Oh, look, it's Jeff Daniels at 7:00. I can pay $15 and see him.
Have you done that yet? Have you actually done that?
I've been doing it all summer. I've done like 50 gigs all summer. Yeah.
Live streaming.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's different. It's different.
Yeah, no, I have to check this out.
You know what?
Now.
There's a way to do it too. There's a way to do it. And being in movies in front of cameras helped. I know how to use the camera. I know how to pull you in. I know how to make it intimate so that you lean into the song, and I don't have to send it out to 1,400 people plus a balcony. I'm sending it 3 feet, or I'm keeping it with me and looking up and pulling you in like an actor would do in a close-up. You learn how to do that. It's a perfect format for me, and I've been enjoying it a lot.
You told this incredible story on Stephen Colbert, and again, it was so cool to see you from your home. And then when the interview's done, after 40, 45 minutes, then Colbert goes, next up, Cat Stevens.
Yes.
It was like, wow, there's a show.
Yeah. I listened to his albums in high school, for God's sake.
Yes, right. Yeah. So it was, but you told this story of how after you and the other actors, Holly Hunter, Brendan Gleeson plays Trump, after you all finished, Billy Ray directed it, you were then told that the honchos, the corporate heads, had decided, it's best what we don't air this before the election. And so they decided to air it later in November after the election.
Yeah.
And you told the story, and you're telling it on CBS with Steven, which is, this is the same company as Showtime.
Yeah.
And do you mind just 30-second version of that, just to tell people what happened? Because this was not going to air this Sunday. This was not, they had decided, whoa, this is 2-2. And so we're moving it to after the election. Why are we lucky enough to be able to see this starting Sunday night here on Showtime? Tell us what happened.
I can only tell you what I know from my perspective, because they kept me out of the loop. Billy Ray, the writer-director, did. Everybody did. We shot the Comey Rule 9 days after I finished running Mockingbird for a year. I needed to be horizontal for 2 months.
Yeah. How'd you do that? Jesus.
Going from Mockingbird right into Comey was like running a marathon and posting a personal best, having a glass of water, and then running another one. I needed Billy Ray so badly, but he was so helpful, and so you got him. What about this, Billy? I don't know. I don't have a brain. And the first 2 months were I leaned on Billy a lot, because we have to shoot it now. They want it delivered by May.
Geez, so this is a year ago, November, you're filming.
Yeah, I mean, we were going to be done shooting by February. That way they could cut it, put it together, music, everything, and then deliver it to either CBS Showtime or CBS Access. They didn't know yet, by May, so that it could be available for airing in the summer or the fall. That's what everybody, and people at Showtime and CBS, everybody was on board with that. We finished, and then the last month of February of shooting, we were asked to pick it up, because they wanted to give Billy more post-production time. So we were shooting a day and a half every day. And that was Sorkin dialogue. That was FBI. I mean, Aaron didn't write it, but it was mountains of FBI lingo and terminology. That's not easy to learn.
Yeah.
But we did it. We got it delivered to him. We wrapped it February 15th. I don't hear a word until the end of May. Not a word. Mm. And Billy says, I need a Zoom meeting with you. Okay. So I got a Zoom meeting with Comey, me, and Shane Salerno, the producer. And Billy drops the bomb. Billy says, well, they're not going to really air it before the election. They were looking at January, December. They didn't want to be involved in the politics of it, which, for all I know, was a legit reason. It's a volatile time. Yeah. It's polarizing. It's probably bad business in some way. I don't know. It's just not what I was told. Billy didn't sit in my dressing room in Mockingbird and say, I want you to play James Comey, and good news, we're going to release it after the election. Mm. I would have passed. I would have said, we're not relevant. We would, which is what Comey said. We just went from relevant to irrelevant, because Billy said, I got them to air it the weekend before Thanksgiving. So, it's still a good movie, guys. And I said, Billy, did they think I was going to promote it? Well, where you're going to get the promotion schedule. And I said, Billy, I'm out. I'm done.
Wow.
I will not promote this movie. They don't want me in front of a microphone, because what we were getting, and Billy wrote this in a letter that was published in the New York Times, and that Viacom, which had merged with CBS, had a couple people, Sherry Redstone and Bob Baskin, that were Trump supporters. And they came into it we were shooting, they came into it after the fact, and for whatever their reasons, maybe legit in their eyes, they didn't feel it should be aired before the election. It felt to me, at least on my side where I was, that I was being complicit, that I was enabling something that would make it easier on someone that they supported. And I said, you know what? I'm drawing the line. I can't do it.
So you said that, yeah.
Yeah, I said, I'm out. I said, and the publicist, and I said, not one interview, nothing. I'll leave my name on it. That's fine. But I won't say a word about it. You don't want me in front of a microphone, guys. You don't want me, because I'll tell them the truth. It's people got, for whatever the reasons, they went back on their word. And so they should have asked me. You should have, but that's not what corporations do.
Right.
Billy never had a conversation with the people that made this decision. Still hasn't. Mm. And so you're going, okay, if that's the game, then the only thing I can do is cost you money, which is the league where I play, the hardball league, which is, okay, I'm going to cost you money. I'm not in it. Good luck with it. Which, in a way could have been, if they wanted to bury it to not upset Trump, and I just made it easier for him. Then it's on CBS Access in December while everybody's Christmas shopping. Nobody sees it. Mission accomplished.
So they changed their minds.
And then the reporters started calling, and then everybody's sniffing around, and all I said was, I'm not promoting it. That's all I'm doing. That's it. Don't talk to me. I'm not in it.
Wow.
If they change the air date, absolutely, I'm in it. I'm proud of it.
And then the air date changes.
And it changed, and not just because of me, by any stretch.
No, I understand.
Billy had something to do with it, and a lot of people, to be really fair, a lot of people at Showtime and CBS were so proud of this and so excited about being a part of the national conversation, informing people on the other side of the Jim Comey story, which is different than we're a bunch of Hollywood liberals who want to attack Trump.
No, I think
Trump
that
does that all by himself. He's pretty self-destructive, and all we have to do is show it. My whole thing was, that's not what you guys told me.
Right.
And, I'm sick and tired of living in a country where people's word doesn't mean anything anymore.
Right.
So
in the ironic case here, where you're having to deal with whether or not should this come out before the election or after, because if it came out before, it may encourage people to wake up or get involved, or maybe even just show up and vote. There's no banner in the movie that says go vote for Biden. When you made the movie, there was, I think at that point, everyone was pretty much convinced Biden would not be the candidate. So there's nothing about that in this Comey movie, but it's just ironic, don't you think, that this whole thing had to do with, just like with Comey, should he release this about Hillary's emails just before the election? It almost feels like we're getting a bit of a do-over here, a reverse, where the Comey story now, the whole story, with Trump in it, gets to be told to the American people before the election, starting this weekend. So I think that's a gift. And
you decide.
Yeah, everybody listening can decide.
Trump's side of the story is Comey's a liar. Here's the other side. See you on November 3rd. You decide.
See you on November.
That's all we wanted, and that's all everyone was going through. And then it got political at a corporate level, of which I was supposed to just go along as a good corporate soldier. And
most people do, Jeff. And this is what's so the part of you that is just like, for you just to share that story, to give the public a peek behind the curtain of how the sausage gets made in our industry.
Yeah.
It's a brave thing to do. You don't have to do that. You can be silent and not tell us.
And again, Michael, I think there were a lot of people at Showtime and CBS that weren't in a position to do what Billy did and what I also did by just saying I'll promote it. I mean, they've got jobs. They've got that's and it's just another TV show in a career that they hope they can stay there another 12 years. So, that stuff. And I respect that. And so I was more than happy to take a stand, and Billy certainly did. And if it didn't work, then I didn't have to promote it. But if it does, then I'm happy to. And here's the other thing: it was good. It was really good. It was great, even the performances and the writing and
this is something you're really proud of.
Well, sometimes they aren't. Sometimes you make a movie and it just sucks and it's mediocre and you still have to sell it. And if that were the case on this, if it were like, oh my God, Brendan Gleeson, what a Trump, Holly Hunter, Michael Kelly, incredible actors, except for Mr. Daniels, who fails miserably portraying James Comey. It could have been that. Right. None of that. It was across the board. This is an important drama at an important time in our country's history. And that was worth fighting for.
Jeff, thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you for making this film. The Comey Rule starts Sunday night here on Showtime and continues on Monday night. And I believe it'll be on Showtime throughout the month. And so you'll have other chances to see it, or you can go on demand on Showtime and see it there. But my thanks to you, and thanks for all the work that you've done over the years. Thanks for supporting our film festival up in Northern Michigan, and just being the all-around good guy that you are.
November 3rd is such an opportunity.
Such an opportunity.
Like a perfect storm. Like the perfect storm for Trump to get elected. This is the perfect storm for a new America to take its first huge step. Yeah. This really could be the end of this Republican Party, this graft, this corruption, this whiteness. This could be the thing that truly does, as Aaron Sorkin writes, make it a great country. And when we solve some of these issues, like systemic racism, healthcare, hunger, all that stuff, okay, then we can tell the world we're the greatest country in the world, not before.
Yeah. Well, right on. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Thank you. Take care, Michael.
Thank you, my brother. Love you. All right, bye-bye.
Love you too. See ya.
Bye-bye. Well, that was great talking to my old friend there, Jeff Daniels. Hey, I want to talk about what's going on and what we need to be doing right now with Trump and company. But before we do that, I want to thank our underwriter. They're called Gabi. You might have heard of them, Gabi. Gabi. They're like the Expedia or the Travelocity of car and homeowners insurance. In other words, they, for free, do the job for you to find the absolute lowest amount of money for you to pay and still have the same exact things covering your car and your home. They have this sort of company motto that they're against overpaying. I think we all agree with that motto. No overpaying. The guys that started this, they saw how people were being ripped off. So along came Gabi. Most people don't really think about their car insurance or your homeowner's insurance. And then you don't look back and say, have they raised that a little bit on me? Or am I paying for things that I shouldn't be paying for? And then if you had this happen and then it comes along at some point, you do look into it and you realize, oh man, I've been paying them money I don't need to be paying them. And when they find you the policy you should have, where you're not getting ripped off, they don't ask for any money from you. They take it out of the insurance company by bringing you to them. That's it. So it never costs you any money. The average customer saves $825 per year on average. Last month, I thanked them for becoming a new underwriter. And a week or two later, I got a note from the super of the apartment building I'm in New York. So he tells me, he said, man, that thing you had on your podcast about this Gabby, it's all true. Not only that, we save more than $800 a year on our car and our homeowners. I said, wow. So check them out. It's totally free to check this out. Doesn't cost you anything. It just takes a couple minutes. Go to Gabby.com/rumble. All right. Gabby, that's Gabi, Gabby.com/rumble. Thank you to Gabby for helping me make sure that my voice and the voice of the people who listen to this show, to this podcast, are heard. Money. Now, you heard when I was talking to Jeff there, I mentioned that I was in day 200 of my lockdown. So it's 200 days. I've not stepped outside this building. Unlike Jeff, when the pandemic started, he was already at home in Michigan, but I was working in New York, and I decided I didn't want to get on a plane and fly home. So I'll hunker down here. Nobody had told me then just how long the pandemic was going to last. So I now know how long I might be here in New York instead of Michigan. But nonetheless, it was important to not get sick and to stay alive. And as Jeff said, we're pretty much the same age. And it's important to be careful right now. And I continue to hold that position. So here I am on day 200. I want you to know that I'm fine. I have not gotten sick, obviously. I have not died, obviously. I am one of the lucky ones. I have in encasing myself in this apartment on top of the movie theater, which does me no good because there are no movies to go watch. I've not been climbing the walls. I got to tell you the truth. This has been kind of good in some ways. Maybe some of you feel that way. A lot of people obviously have to go to work. So I'm lucky that my work is in the guest bedroom. I just happened to have built this podcast studio and started the podcast less than 2 months before we, first started having to deal with this in February with the pandemic. And so I've been able to work from home, literally, because the work was at home in the studio that's in the guest bedroom. That's no longer a guest bedroom. Sorry to all my friends. Someday, again, you hopefully will come see me, but not now. But I'm fine. I've kept myself healthy and drink a lot of water. I try to get my 7 hours sleep. I get it at various times during the 24 hours. I have to be honest about that. But I've also enjoyed, there's so much in my life. For so many years, there's been so much noise. It's been nice not to have the noise. It's been nice to have the quiet and the serenity of just being able to think and create. I've been doing some writing. I've been prepping some things that I hope to do when the pandemic is over. I've been doing the podcast. I helped to release Planet of the Humans, which is now, I don't know, it's somewhere over 12 million views on the various platforms it's on. I'm going to talk about that sometime very soon. We've got a lot of business in front of us between now and November 3rd, but I want to tell you because there's this investigative piece that came out a week or two ago, backing up everything that's in the film and then investigating the people that tried to stop the film and tried to censor it and tried to have it removed. It's a powerful piece by the investigative reporter Max Blumenthal. And so I want you to read this piece. But I'm going to see. I've never met Max Blumenthal, but I'll see if he'll come on the episode here, talk a little bit about it. And then we need to deal with saving our planet November 4th. We need to get right back at this because we have been sold out by a number of people who put capitalism and profit and money ahead of protecting the people and the species and everything else that grows and lives on this planet. And I am not going to remain silent about what certain so-called environmental leaders and movements have been doing and how they've been connected to Wall Street and corporate America and a lot of fake green movement stuff that isn't real. And it's hurt the people who are out there doing all this work to save the planet, to try to come up with new green deals and all these things that we need to be talking about and doing. And it's just not been right. And no one's going to tell you the truth. That's this movie. If you've seen the movie, you've seen the truth, but very few people are wanting to pick up the mantle and say, we have to deal with this. Mike and Jeff and Ozzy, and they've brought up some really important points here. We need to have a discussion, a debate, whatever it is. So we're going to do that. I'll do something in the next maybe week or so here, but then we're definitely going to get into this after the election. The title of Max's investigative piece is Green Billionaires, and green in quotation marks, as in, green billionaires were behind the professional activist network that led to the suppression of the Planet of the Humans documentary. And then the subhead reads, the Michael Moore produced Planet of the Humans faced a coordinated suppression campaign led by professional climate activists backed by the same, quote, green billionaires, Wall Street investors, industry insiders, and family foundations that are skewered in the film. Wow. I read this. I mean, my head spun. I did not know half of this, and I knew there was something weird going on, and this just explains it all. We got a lot of other stuff we have to deal with. If you get a chance to read it, read it. Like I said, I'll do something with it here on Rumble briefly in the coming week or so, but every minute of our every day now has to be spent on Trump removal. Trump removal, total Trump removal. And that means the Republican enablers that have been behind him. A story broke right after we finished with Jeff Daniels saying that, in fact, at 5 o'clock on Saturday here, Trump is going to announce his pick for the Supreme Court. And that pick is going to be none other than Amy Coney Barrett. Amy Coney Barrett. If you've read anything about her, my friends, this is a crazy right-wing wackadoodle judge from Indiana who has written against women's rights, reproductive rights, affordable health care for everybody. This is just awful. This is like a right-wing dream come true. Not only that, if you've read some of the investigative pieces on her, she belongs to some kind of sub-cult, sub whatever Christian cult, where the men in the group are called the heads. They're the head of the family, the head of the house. You know, they're in charge. And the women, the spouses, are called the handmaids. I shit you not. I'm not making this up. I know, Margaret Atwood, please, sue somebody, please. They're called the handmaids. They're saying it like it's a good thing. They're called the handmaids. Amy has 7 children, and she will keep the Catholic majority going on the court. On the liberal side now, there's only 3 justices left. 2 Jewish Americans and 1 Latina. That's who's fighting for us on the court. And they will now have 6 if this woman gets confirmed here in the next couple of weeks as they try to stack this court quickly, because they know Trump's chance of losing now exists. Everybody's kind of gotten that message. Doesn't mean that he will lose. Please, my friends, don't assume that. Remember 16. But we have a 5-3 court against us right now as it stands. If he succeeds, it'll be 6-3. And we'll finally have a handmaid on the court. Wow. There's something that she's written in some, I don't know if it was in a law journal or some publication. I don't know if I'll get this before I close out and publish this podcast, but we'll get to this in the next few days. Where she wrote that she believes that the Social Security Act of 1935, Franklin Roosevelt's Social Security Act from the 1930s, is unconstitutional, according to Amy Coney Barrett. Unconstitutional. Social Security. When I post that, when I get you, please share this with everyone. Trump's largest voting demographic was the over 65 vote in 2016. Now in every poll, the over 65 vote is for Biden. It's been a complete flip, in large part because the most vulnerable group to dying from COVID-19 are people over the age of 65. And his supporters, the senior citizens and the elderly, his number one supporters, don't understand why he wants to kill off his voting base. But that's what he's been doing. And now we're at 7 million. We passed this weekend, 7 million Americans who've come down with coronavirus, and over 200,000 dead. And now this with the Supreme Court. Couldn't wait. They couldn't even wait. Her burial in Arlington Cemetery, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, is until next week. As one person in the White House said to somebody in the media last Friday and Saturday, that after Ginsburg's death, Trump was, quote, salivating. So here we go. We have our work cut out for us, obviously. There's a lot more we need to talk about, including Trump's trying to be very clear with us this week. Thank you for that, Donald. Your honesty is much appreciated. He has no intention of leaving the White House. That's because he has no intention of losing, because he can't lose if he can rig the election. And it's so weird that, that's one of his words, rig the election. But he does that now. You see, you've figured him out by now after 4 years of this, right? That he complains about what he says we're going to do, when in fact that's what he's going to do. He complains about the protesters being violent when he is the violent one, when he sends the troops in to be violent, the police in to be violent. He designates New York and Seattle and Portland as anarchist cities, when the real anarchy is taking place inside the walls of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So we know this by now. Whatever he says, it's the opposite, and he's really talking about himself. When he says you, he means I. I am an anarchist. I believe in violence. And he has said, even about Amy, his nominee, he wanted to get her on there because he's going to need her, he said. He said that publicly. I'm going to need her. We're going to need a 6-3 vote to be able to win this election. He's already telling her what to do. But Jeff spoke, I thought, very honestly and wonderfully about this dilemma that we're in. And it is a huge dilemma. And even though the voting has started in some states, you can't wait to do this. If you can go in person and vote, my advice is to try to do that. If you can. Some of you can't do it. You've got to get the absentee ballots, and you've got to get them now. Do not wait, my friends, on this. Do not wait. The first thing everybody can do right now is go on vote.org or Rock the Vote or LeBron James's voting site, and you can click on a link to check to make sure you're properly registered. Now, you may think that you are, but you may not be, because these systems are run by humans and some are run by Republicans. And so you really do want to make sure that you're still on the voter rolls. You don't want to find out on election day, or after you've waited 2 or 3 weeks and they haven't sent you the ballot and you're wondering why. It's because your name isn't on the rolls anymore. So you need to click on this link, and they're just going to ask you, what's your name, what's your address, what's your zip code? And the computer will tell you within seconds. They'll say, yes, you are registered. And in my case, like in Michigan, I did this the other day to make sure that this worked, and it worked. And it said, yes, you're registered and your voting location is fire station number 1. Cool. And then it had like a Google map thing with a little red circle and arrow for where I'm supposed to show up to vote. It also had information on how I could get my mail-in ballot. So do this. Don't wait on it. Start right with you could do this today. Right when we're going to be done here in a couple minutes. Just go to vote.org, rock the vote, any of a number of really good sites right now. Vote Save America has got a good site. ProPublica, the news information service, they have a good site. Just type in your name, your zip code, your address, and you'll know right now if you are truly registered to vote there. That's the first step. If you're not registered, or if you've moved this year, or since the last election, you may want to register in your new location. Now, listen, a lot of states, the registration is cut off 1 month before the election. The election is November 3rd. That means the cutoff in many states is October 3rd. October 3rd is next Saturday. You don't want to wait till then. Don't wait till Friday. You've got to do this now. Do it now. You can do it online. Most states now you can register online. In many of the states you can register for the absentee ballot online. Do that. Don't put this off. You've seen everybody say, have a plan. What's your plan to vote? You got to know right now. You got to decide right now what you're going to do. If you can vote in person, do that. Even you can vote in person early too. Like in Michigan, you can just get your absentee ballot and then fill it out, then take it to the city clerk. If you don't want to go inside their office, most of the city clerks, they've got a box, secure box outside where you can drop the ballot in there. But it's critical that you pay some attention to this right now, and that you tell your family and friends and people that are on your Facebook site, hey, are you registered? Are you sure? Have you moved? You got to do that now this week. And you got to order, if you're going to get a mail-in ballot, you got to order it now. If we all do that with all the people we know, I mean, how many people are in your address book? It's probably a lot, but I don't know. Actually, there might be more people on your Facebook, but even the address book, your address book on your phone, that has everybody's email, right? Or it's got their cell number, so you can text them. Take an hour and do this. Just go right through. That's how I did. I actually did it the other day. I started with A. All right. Here's my sister, Ann. Okay. And I don't make the assumption, oh yeah, she's my sister. Of course she's registered. Well, she probably thinks she is, but who knows what's going on out there with all those fires in California. I want to make sure, everybody make sure, go down and ask all your friends and family and people in your address book, ask them to make sure too. And when you ask them, give them that link of vote.org. We have to do this, my friends, please. This is so critical. And it's clear now we can't just win. We have to win big. We have to landslide this mofo. This guy has got to be buried by democracy, buried in ballots. The things I've heard this week from people in the know, people on Capitol Hill. Let me give you one. There's been discussions within the Trump campaign in the White House that on Election Day, Trump is going to call out the federal marshals. In the case I heard of, in this case, Pennsylvania, he's going to send federal marshals in on election night to Pennsylvania to seize the ballot boxes with the ballots and the hard drives for the ones that are electronic. He's going to have federal marshals seize this under the guise of he's going to make sure the election and the votes are counted and it's fair. And he's going to have his federal marshals take these ballots into their custody. That's just one of a number of things I've heard this week. And maybe it won't happen. Maybe somebody is too antsy about this, but I take everything seriously now. When people tell me things, especially people who are working in our government, who are trying to work on our behalf, I take them very seriously. Just as seriously as I take Donald J. Trump. Because he ain't lying when he says what he's going to do. One step at a time, though, my friends. Don't be paralyzed with fear. Trust in some things that you know are true. Number one, there are more of us than there are of them. By a long shot. We had more people come out for our side in the midterms in 2018 than they could ever even dream of having come out for them. This country has changed. The majority of Americans take the Democratic position on just about every single issue. They take the progressive position when it comes to things like climate and choice and a living wage, not being in debt for the rest of your life because you wanted to go to college. The majority of the American people are with us on all these things. And Trump knows it, and the Republicans know it, and they know this is the only possible way to win, is to fix it, is to rig it, is to cheat, is to seize power. I know, don't be paralyzed by this. Act. And the best action you can take right now is he needs a tsunami of voters voting him out over these next weeks. We got to get people registered, re-registered. We've got to help them get their mail-in ballots, their absentee ballots. We've got to help them get to the polls on Election Day. We've got to help them get to the polls during all these days that you can go and vote now in person. Many, many states now, you can do this over these next number of weeks. But if you're not registered, depending on what date it is in your state, October 3rd in many states, next Saturday, October 5th, Monday, that Monday after the Saturday, that's the closing date for registration in many states. Some states it's October 19th. It's a little better. Some states it's the Friday before the election. Don't wait for that though, please. Everybody, okay? Everybody on board with me here? We all have work to do. We have to do it now. Do not expect others to do that work for you. Do not expect the Democratic Party to do it for you. They're doing whatever they can do. But we already know from Gore winning and Hillary winning that if we leave it to them, we lose. Bottom line. Can't make that up because I have two examples over a 16-year period from the 2000 election to the 2016 election. The American people spoke. They did not want George W. Bush. They did not want Donald J. Trump, and they ended up with both of them. The Democrats wouldn't fight for the very thing that they won. So we have to do the fighting. And we have to start the fighting right now by just doing something simple, like making sure everybody we know is registered to vote this week. Will you do that with me here, please? I know it sounds so simple, but it's so critical. We have to have a landslide. We have to bury him in a landslide of ballots. That's it. I thank, again, Jeff Daniels coming on and talking to you and to me today. I'll be back to you here in the next couple of days with another podcast. So please look for that. Please share this podcast with your friends and family. Share the information and the links I provide you here on this page. Send me an email. I read my mail. Mike@michaelmoore.com. So easy. So easy. It's so boring. Mike@michaelmoore.com. Or leave me a voicemail. There's a link right here on the podcast page. It's a 1-minute voicemail. I love listening to them. I either end the day or I begin the day listening to what you have to say. So all you got to do is hit the link and then just talk into your phone or into your laptop, whatever. All right, my friends, Thank you to our executive producer, Basil Hamden, our editor and sound engineer, Nick Quaz, and to everybody else who underwrites the show, the good people at Anchor who helped us get started here. Eternally grateful to them. And to all of you. We're all in this together. There's no other way now. Whether you like it or not, you're stuck with me. I'm stuck with you. Let's save this country. And then we'll have some time to get it right once we do that. Be well. This is Rumble, and I'm Michael Moore.
And when the happy time shall come, Michigan, my Michigan,